Ladies and gentlemen, is a cruiserweight contest of 8 3-minute rounds between, introducing in this corner, ladies and gentlemen, from Wolverhampton, the cruiserweight champion of the Midlands, Nigel Rafferty. And from Stourbridge, ladies and gentlemen, Robert Norton. At the weigh-in, Rafferty scale 13 stones 5 pounds, Norton 13 stones 8 pounds. The referee for this contest, Mr. Phil Moyes.
Listen to my instructions all the time. Tell him to break before step. Knock the opponent down with the phone. Go back in the match. Check hands.
The man in the green and white trunks is the reigning Midlands area cruiserweight champion. He's a 27-year-old from Wolverhampton, Nigel Rafferty, and he's giving away a fair bit in terms of height and reach to the 23-year-old Robert Norton from Stourbridge, who's unbeaten as a professional. Just one minor blemish on his record. He's had 10 contests, and he's won 9, and he's had 1 draw. Rafferty, infinitely more experienced, been around a lot of rings and a lot of corners. This is 56th professional contest. So Robert Norton from Stourbridge in black, and the reigning Midlands area cruiserweight champion, Nigel Rafferty, in the stripes. This is a non-title contest, although I think Robert Norton would prefer if Nigel Rafferty's title was on the line.
Right!
Norton is making pretty steady progress through the cruiserweight division. Needs to move up a little bit in class, and certainly Nigel Rafferty will provide him with a reasonably stern task. Rafferty not really known as a puncher, and Norton certainly is. He's stopped 4 of his men, and he's really setting about Nigel Rafferty. And a little bit of shouting from the crowd, and neither boxer could hear the referee's instruction. And Phil Moyes saying to Robert Norton, don't hit with the open part of the glove. Well, an impressive start by Norton. Is scheduled for 8 3-minute rounds. We're midway through the first. And already Robert Norton really has made his strength and his skill tell.
Right!
Norton with his southpaw right held uncharacteristically low, but he's getting through with it. Rafferty will try to close him down and negate that reach advantage that Norton's enjoying. A minute to go to the end of the first. Rafferty recovered from that little flurry of blows that Norton put in the middle of the first round. The draw that Robert Norton had came in October of '94 in Wolverhampton against Chris Willis. Referee having a few words with Nigel Rafferty, telling him he's in fact here to box. There's that southpaw right of Norton's again, and the left to follow, and Rafferty almost walked onto it. Just 10 seconds remaining, and it's got very untidy from Rafferty, and he's had to suck in a lot of air because he took a fair thump or 2 in the middle of the first round from Robert Norton. Clash of heads, accidental, and the first round to this young fella here, Robert Norton. Len Woodall in the corner having a few words. A fair bit of bruising underneath that left eye where he's been caught by Rafferty. But it was Norton who showed the first bit of aggression straight through with that left, and he couldn't really follow that up, but he did catch him. And a left uppercut too, and Rafferty did very well to cover. And all his experience really had to come into play. And Norton pressing home that advantage as well he could. There's a face that's been round a few corners, hasn't it? Nigel Rafferty, 27 now from Wolverhampton.
Corners,
55 professional contests.
Second out, round 2.
The second round of this cruiserweight contest, scheduled for 8. Robert Norton, the taller of the two, just 3 pounds heavier at 13 stones 8. Nigel Rafferty, 13.5, managed by Ron Gray. Norton, a former amateur with the Silver Street Amateur Boxing Club and was the 92 South Staffordshire ABA light heavyweight champion. Long, lean frame, and cruiserweight seems just to suit him. May not carry the bulk for heavy. Nigel Rafferty began his professional career in June of 1989, losing to Carl Watson. He's one of those busy fighters that really make British boxing what it is. He's fighting 10 or 11 times a year and always gives of his best. Robert Norton seems to be enjoying this very unorthodox style. Rafferty trying to find a way inside the longer lead of Robert Norton. Rafferty's always had difficulty with opponents who can both box and fight. He's lost to a few well-known names, Sammy Story and Mark Delaney, and to the up-and-coming Bruce Scott. This is another up-and-coming cruiserweight, Robert Norton. Well, come forward, says Rafferty. I've taken a couple of your shots and I'm not desperately impressed.
Right! Step back.
A minute to go to the end of the second. And such a contrast in styles, that almost peekaboo style of Nigel Rafferty's and the long, lazy, almost laconic style of Robert Norton, leaving himself open, but against an opponent who's maybe not the quickest thing in 2 legs, he doesn't seem to worry him.
Not working. Right! Step back.
About half a minute to go to the end of the second. The schedule, remember, for 8 3-minute rounds. Another couple of good left uppercuts, and Rafferty takes them and shakes his head and says, no effect whatsoever, but I wonder.
Right!
Robert Norton holding. Just a few seconds to go. A little bit of a thread coming from the left glove of Robert Norton, and they're having a little chat with each other. And again, Norton grins. Another good round for Robert Norton. Nigel Rafferty, a little bit on the weary side, comes back to his corner, but he certainly has seen it all before. There's Rafferty, 27 years old now, has boxed at both super middleweight and light heavy, and indeed lost to John J. Cook just a year ago. The fight stopped in 7 rounds and cuts for the Midlands light heavyweight title.
Look for front now, see what he's got. Go another end, see what he's got.
Looking very comfortable and relaxed, Robert Norton.
Corners, 10 seconds. Seconds out, round 3.
In the green and white stripes, Nigel Rafferty, the reigning Midlands area cruiserweight champion. He won that title in March of this year. A tough 10-pointer in Birmingham against John Foreman. Since then, though, he's lost 4 in a row. Stopped by Bruce Scott. Stopped also by a very good Norwegian, Ole Clemenson, who's had 22 wins and only 1 defeat so far. In July, Rafferty was stopped by Tony Booth-and-Hull, and then lost a 6-rounder on points in Belfast to Darren Corbett. Well, Rafferty really is amazing. He's taken some very good shots, and he's just shaking his head. Norton has 4 wins inside the distance, having won 9 from 10 professional fights. And Norton showing a fair bit of confidence. He's not always as accurate with the second punch as he is with the first. Rafferty still inviting Norton to come forward, trying to unsettle the less experienced and younger man. Lovely piece of footwork by Robert Norton, turning Rafferty right round. Box on, says the referee. The referee doesn't seem to be too fazed at all by some of those pretty hard shots that are going in from Norton. And that's another one, and another one. A little bit of blood coming from the nose of Nigel Rafferty, who's taking a bit of an exception to what's been said to him by the referee. It's all good pals at the end of it, really. A minute to go to the end of the third. Norton looking for the big finish. Ha, almost got me, says Rafferty. Rafferty doing his best to cover up. Yeah. That was on the forearm. The second one wasn't. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to put microphones on the boxes because I'm sure the conversation between these two will be worth hearing. Just a few seconds to go, and I've really enjoyed this. Norton looking very comfortable. My card, this is the third successive round he's won. And still a little quip from Nigel Rafferty. Well, another interesting round. Norton, there's the southpaw, and followed by a very good left hand straight through the guard of Nigel Rafferty, who says, no, not at all, not seeing any little birds. And again, from a slightly different angle, there's the right teeing him up. Had 2 little goes at it, and the left certainly did come straight through, but Rafferty was on the retreat when it landed, and it doesn't bother me.
Corners, 10 seconds. Seconds out. Round 4.
This round to take us up to the halfway point in this cruiserweight contest, scheduled for 8. Robert Norton, the man in black from Starbridge, just 23 years old. This is his 4th fight in 1995. He's won all 3, stopping Newbie Stevens, and points wins over Steve Osborne, the second over Osborne, and his last fight in April against another very experienced campaigner, Cordwell Hilton, whom he defeated in Dudley over 6 rounds. So for Norton, it's a case of pretty steady progress so far, and needs to start really stamping his authority a little bit more. Well, I tell you, Nigel Rafferty is enjoying himself. He may be getting caught once or twice, but it's not bothering him at this stage. Rafferty has been stopped before. Indeed, he's been stopped no fewer than 16 times in his 30 defeats as a professional. A lot of scar tissue around the craggy face of Nigel Rafferty. Norton's still a little tentative. He still tends to throw single shots, and when he does follow up the right with the left, he's pretty effective. Referee telling Nigel Rafferty to make a contest of this. And he's just charged forward and decided to grab Robert Norton. I think survival's on Nigel Rafferty's mind. That was another good left. And the same reaction from Rafferty. A little short uppercut and then the left, and Rafferty, I think, cannot relax from this. His head's gone back. He's managed to ride a couple of those punches. And still he comes back. With just about 10 seconds to go to the end of this round, and for the first time really Nigel Rafferty, I think, would have to concede that he was hurt by Robert Norton. Fair bit of blood, but it's coming from the nose of Nigel Rafferty. That was a spectacular finish to that round from Robert Norton, and Nigel Rafferty took one or two shots that I'm sure he won't appreciate. So Nigel Rafferty having some of the blood wiped away from his nose. But right at the end of that round, this man, Robert Norton, did catch him 2 or 3 times. You can see him looking for the opening, and there's that 1-2 little tip-tap right, and the left coming through hard. And Norton decided to finish it, or follow it up, I should say. And there was one very good uppercut came through from the left hand of Robert Norton. And Rafferty, for all his bravado and all his experience, can't help but being affected by those shots.
Seconds out, round 5.
Stop boxing! Box on!
The referee having a little word with them both, and have said to Nigel Rafferty, stop the clowning around, let's get on with the business of boxing. This, remember, is a non-title fight, although Nigel Rafferty is the Midlands area cruiserweight champion, having fought also for the Midlands area light heavyweight title, stopped a year ago by John J. Cook, albeit uncut. A little game of statues. I think that's something children used to play years ago. Norton spoken to by referee Phil Moyes for holding. First time Rafferty actually coming forward and getting his opponent in his Rafferty's corner. Very untidy Rafferty. Doesn't really have a big punch. Just 2 of his 20 wins have come inside the distance. And a much more experienced man would make life more difficult for Robert Norton. And Rafferty, I think, quite content to see this one out. Rafferty's nose, which has seen a fair bit of leather in its day, starting to bleed again. Good footwork by the bigger man, Robert Norton, some 2, possibly 3 inches taller than Nigel Rafferty. Quite good reflexes from Norton, but the accuracy of the punching not quite there. Against a harder hitting opponent, I don't think Norton would allow himself to leave his chain hanging out to dry in that way. Half a minute to go to the end of the 5th round. southpaw right, and then the left by Norton. Rafferty very flat-footed, Norton really bouncing. Another good flourish and finish to the round by the younger man, Robert Norton, the 23-year-old in black. Glenn Woodall, Father Ritchie coming into the corner of Robert Norton. Be fairly pleased, but they might be thinking about maybe just picking up the pace a little bit and a bit more attention to discipline, perhaps. There's Nigel Rafferty. This is 56th professional contest. He's won 20, lost 30, drawn 5.
Corners, 10 seconds. Seconds out, round 6.
Both boxers, Robert Norton in black and his cruiserweight opponent Nigel Rafferty in the green and white stripes. A little bit slow to come off the stools. It's been a fair old pace since the start of this contest. We're well into the second half of it now. That left uppercut, and this time Rafferty grimaces. He took 2 or 3 earlier in the contest and shook his head and made very light of it, and that's it coming through again, almost like a old-fashioned, what they used to call a bolo punch, swinging it right from about knee level straight up. Norton had a little word with the referee. He said, "Oh, ref," as if he was complaining about Rafferty's use of the head. Yeah, he is complaining about the head, and there's a nasty little cut now on the right cheekbone of Nigel Rafferty. It's not in a fight-threatening position. The referee walked onto that, and that did hurt him. Now, that really did hurt him. He's been very brave, and he's taken some of Norton's best shots and has given the impression that it hasn't affected him, but he's getting caught again, and the referee really wants to be stepping in, and he has to stop this. And he said, "That's enough." It's good refereeing. A very brave man, Nigel Rafferty. So with just about a minute of the 6th round gone, Robert Norton's pressure, which he exerted all the way from the first bell, began to pay off, and the referee's decision to stop it was quite right, because Rafferty was never going to win the contest on points, and there's no point in letting him take any more hard shots than he needed to.
Our gentlemen, please. After 1 minute 45 seconds of round 6, ladies and gentlemen, with Rafferty not in a position to continue, the referee has stopped the contest. The winner, ladies and gentlemen, Robert Norton.
Well, Norton really began to exude confidence, and Rafferty's head was perfectly still when he took that very hard shot, and Norton then kept up the pressure. Rafferty in a neutral corner really was very tired and was having to hold on, and Norton managed to stay away from him, and there's that uppercut again. That really has been a very good shot for Robert Norton, and the referee at this point was absolutely right and stepped in just at the right point.